Here's my audience.
Okay. In the history of the U.S. government, men have had the position of power of being the President of the United States. However, in 1919, First Lady Edith Wilson stepped in for her husband Woodrow Wilson after he suffered a paralyzing stroke. First Lady Edith Wilson kept her husband's severe state of disability not only a secret from the public, but also from Congress and from his own cabinet. So she took on certain roles and duties before women even had the right to vote. After researching First Lady Edith Wilson and all that she did for her husband at the end of his second term, I would like to share with you her story and why she's called the Secret President. So the beginning of Woodrow and Edith's marriage wasn't very easy because America was catapulted into World War II. Thanks to the National First Ladies Library and the Encyclopedia of Virginia, I was able to look into Edith and Woodrow's relationship. They were married in 1915, and this was the second marriage for both of them. Unfortunately, both of their spouses had passed away. And Wilson involved her in politics. He allowed her to sit in on White House meetings, and she later gave him advice about domestic and foreign affairs. It's also important to note that Woodrow Wilson is the president that signed in the 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote, and many people believe this was because of his wife's influence. Congress declared war in 1917 due to Germany's hostility, and because of the PBS piece about Woodrow Wilson, I was able to see where he traveled and what he was going to do. So he had to travel cross-country to promote the Treaty of Versailles and the League of Nations, and this took a very serious toll on his health despite the doctors telling him not to do this. So now that you understand Woodrow and Edith's relationship and events leading to his stroke, I'm going to tell you about President Wilson's incapacity and Edith's role in government. After her husband's health declined, Edith stepped up to help him finish his second term. In 1919, he suffered a stroke, and for 17 months, Edith took role as stewardess according to her memoir. She decided which matters of state were most important to bring to him. The stroke was hidden from Congress and cabinet. The Encyclopedia of Virginia states that no one was allowed to see him but the doctor and Edith. So she would stage certain events to make the president appear healthy. One of the more famous pictures is this one, where Edith staged a press opportunity where she brought her husband in the room beforehand, propped him up in a chair, and then invited the press in to take pictures of him to present to the public, which made him look like he was doing just normal desk work. There are not many people that are aware of the duties Edith took on, though many scholars believe she strongly influenced politics. In her memoir, she speaks about her experiences during this time. I began my stewardship. I studied every paper sent from senators or secretaries and tried to digest and present in tabloid form the things that, despite my vigilance, had to go to the president. The only decision that was mine was what's important and what was not. Edith also influenced the 25th Amendment. According to PBS, during this time, after President Wilson suffered a stroke, there wasn't any information on what to do if the president was incapacitated while in office, so there wasn't any guide or advice. This amendment detailed terms of succession should a president die or be incapacitated while in office. First Lady Edith Wilson stepped in for her husband and took on government duties no woman of this time had ever performed. Women weren't even allowed to vote yet. She saved her husband's public image and helped him finish his second term. Despite that all she did in politics during this time, women were not allowed to hold government positions. This part of history is not well known. Women have not always been allowed to participate in politics and have come a long way since the beginning of American democracy. While we have not technically had a female president, we should not forget Edith Wilson, who proved that women could participate in politics. She is a secret president.